Well, Tungsten is singing, and it's singing off a tube amp. So hello, I'm Zeospantera. You may know me. You may know that I have done other collaborations in the past, and I just want to tell you, you primitive screwheads, to listen up, because I'm putting a warning at the start of the video of the Valencia. That is, to my knowledge, one of the only power amps for headphones that has ever existed. If you don't know what the difference between a power amp and a regular amp is, here is a Rebel amp. There is a pre-switch, there's a gain control, and there's a volume knob. That has none of those. That has an on-off and an on. That's it. That's all it's got. There's also one in the back for the main power bus. But I was hanging out with Orchard Audio at his showroom in New Jersey while I was doing that. And I have his amplifiers. And if you don't know Orchard Audio, because you're a headphone guy, not a speaker guy, I understand. The only reason you might know about Orchard Audio, if you're a headphone guy, is he makes really clean streamers. His Pecan and Pecan Pie, people rave about the output of his streamers, the balanced output. And I listened to his balanced output on his streamers, and he told me, by the way, you can plug in this adapter and run headphones off my streamer. And I heard that and went, Leo, why don't you make a headphone amplifier? And he was like, I don't know about the headphone market. I only know real about the speaker market. He doesn't even know about, like, the depths of it. And I'm like, Leo, you need to make a headphone amplifier. And then a couple months later, he's like, you know what? Maybe I will make a headphone amplifier. And so this was born. Now, it's called the Valencia because Orchard Audio, everything is named after, I think, peaches. And Valencia is a peach. And if you want to call it Valencia, that is fine. I have another name for it. Violencia. Because this is 15 watts a channel at 32 ohms. I have the full power specs. We could go over them. He's still having it measured to do all the different ohms loads. But I need to warn you what a power amp is, because most headphone people will not have ever used one. If you're a headphone person, you're like, well, I have an amp. I plug my headphone in and I turn the knob till I'm satisfied with the volume, and then I'm listening. The thing is, there's no knob here. This is outputting 15 watts out the front of it all the goddamn time. It is class AB. It's I don't know where the A to AB bias sets in, but it doesn't matter because there's a reason I specifically chose Orchard Audio to make a collab for a headphone amplifier. Because he can do, I said to myself and I said to him, if you can do the thing you do for your speaker amps in a headphone amp, it will sell. And when he brought over the board, I have a video, I might even put up on my second channel, of when he brought over the first little test boards. And they were like, I gained it to 20 dB of gain. Is that enough? And I nearly blew up every headphone in the house. But I couldn't stop listening. So, warning, before I move on, this is a power amp. You control the volume of this somewhere else. I could hook up the Rebel amp and use a pre-out to control the volume on this. I currently have the Tor balanced coming out of the headphone out into an adapter wire into, which one are you plugged into? This one. You understand you can't run tungsten, and by the way, yes, that's as far unveiled. You can't run tungsten off of most tube amps. And certainly not the Tor, which is rather a little light in the feathers. But if I just, and I know that's backwards because I'm probably going to forget to reverse the audio, but holy fuck, I guess that's enough. So, how do I begin this? Zeos, I'm going to say put one gemstone in the title because it's an MSRP of $2,000, but it's probably going to sell a little bit less than that. We're preparing to sell this on retail sites. And if you're watching this video and you're a patron of mine, guess what? You get to get in with the password on the Patreon post and pre-order it before anyone else. Congratulations. And if you're watching this on Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Get the gift that everyone will love in your family. Valencia. Shipping late April, early May. So, the boards inside are made in Canada. They were going to be made in Texas, and then I was like, we'll do it in Canada. It's cheaper, and now it's in Canada. So now hopefully there isn't, like, issues if you don't know what's happening in the world currently, to date this video a little bit. This unit is, you know what, let's unplug that, and I'm going to shut off the power switch here, which, by the way, what a satisfying, and then I'm going to kill the power there. Let's pick this up. Ooh, also, since I'm doing a collab like this, I get to dictate some terms. First term was it has to come with an adapter because he couldn't find a way to mount the 4.4s to the front if he used it as a secondary output. And I'm like, well, I can't stand for that. So behind me in boxes are 250 of these adapters from 4-pin to 4.4. So every one of the Valencias will come with this, so you can run 4.4 God's connector. This power wire, which I'm always talking about, is the Monoprice hospital cable, which I love because it comes rolled up and it's so smooth and nice and see-through. Yep, we're going to order, like, I think 50 of them for the first order and then maybe another 50, and if I can contact them. So it's going to come with the power cables I love. And then back here, you can see it's very complicated. Oh my God. It's literally just balanced input. It's just a balanced input. These are speaker taps. These are 5-way binding posts, not 5-way, but these are simply banana speaker posts, which you can use Valencia because you could take Leo away from speakers, but you can't take speakers away from Leo. He's like, even though this thing does 15 watts into 32 ohms, she'll still put out a clean 5 watts. And I'm like, how clean of 5 watts? And he's like, cleaner than my big 500 watt per channel amplifiers. And I'm like, all right, I'll allow it. So when you buy Valencia, you're not just buying possibly the world's first and only currently sold power amp. You're buying probably one of the cleanest small 5 watt per channel speaker amps on the planet. The case we had tried brushed, and we had to go to sandblasted because I just couldn't get the QC up. Steel bottom, aluminum top, and fascia. There it is with the front. You know why it's this size? Because here's the thing: the board inside of this is about this big. That's about it. If you go look at any of his big 500 watt per channel speaker amps, the board's about that size. The man used to work on satellite systems, like to put in space. So he can't get it out of his head to make anything just like take up space. So the board's yay big. I don't have one to open up. And in fact, this isn't the final board in this one. These are the preliminary boards that he's had to modify by hand. So we don't want to really show them off until the final boards are out. But the board is only about yay big. The power supply sits over here. And then between the board and the front, he's using Neotech wire, because one of the things I told him, because this is where Zeos comes in as an advisor, is people are going to give a shit if they're plugging their $2,000 headphones into their $2,000 amplifier and the wire that goes from the board to the front is in quality. So we went shopping around for all the standard things, and Neotech was just right. So we'll get to that. I had to pick the size of the box. Remember when I was over the size? So I went around my entire house and I measured every single piece of equipment in my house, and I took an average. And I said, you know what the average is? It's about 9 inches. We wish. And I want 9 inches wide and I want 9 inches deep. And if you haven't noticed, there's an angle on the fascia. Now, this is something he's done on his streamers so that the screen is facing you. And I'm like, you know what? That'd be great for like a desktop too, because then I can just plug a thing in and have the button on the front, and it isn't like this weird, awkward thing. And it adds just a little bit. I like the silver one, by the way, versus the black one. I kind of like the silver one a little better. And I made it specifically this size. It didn't have to be this size. I could have made this thing this big and this big. It could be small. But I made it big enough that you could slam it on your desk and put stuff on top of it. I've designed it in that way so that most, not all things, but most things will fit comfortably atop of it. So now we have got, I should probably have plugged it back into other things, but for now we'll just throw this stuff on the side. When I did Eris was not going to measure properly. Eris has a really big dip at 2K because it's doing phase things to make the soundstage appear bigger. So it doesn't measure properly. And that didn't matter to me on a headphone because that's just my preference at a headphone. So I decided, well, if I'm going to do another collab and I'm going to do an amplifier, I'm going to do one with Leo, I want you to measure the fuck out of this. I want to make all those people who make fun of me for having a terrible measuring headphone, I want to make them cry. And oh boy, are you guys going to cry. Because the numbers here, hold on, I'm actually going to take the camera off my... The numbers for power and THD specs, and where's another one? There's 8 ohms. There's what it looks like in 8 ohms. 300 ohms, 600 ohms. We're still working on the other ones. This, I could almost say, is going to be the world's cleanest amplifier. Maybe not the world's cleanest headphone amplifier if you're talking about lower power things. I'm sure something with 1 watt could pull off a much lower measurement. But these measurements are all at 15 watts. A ridiculous 15 watts. But there's problems when you put a power amp at the end of your chain. And the problem is your chain. There's a benefit and negative. Why am I so happy about this? Because here's the thing. I have been told for my entire career, DACs matter. Or what amp are you, what preamp you're using? I use a vibe. And none of that has actually, because the very last step has always been an amplifier, and the amplifier matters more than usually the other stuff. With Leo's amps, and with this one in particular, this doesn't exist. Don't forget it's even there. You're going to spend whatever you spend in it, $1,600, $1,800, and then you can stick this under your desk and never look at it again and leave your headphone plugged into it. Because once you're using Valencia, or Violencia, everything before it matters. Everything before it matters. Actually, do I have the product page up? Let me go back to, wait, where's the thing? Where's the thing? I clicked the thing. Description. I wrote this, by the way. Tell me if you think it's terrible. It weighs 5 pounds. So yeah, we're looking at 15.12 watts into 32 ohms. 9.6 watts into 16, 4.83, so a little under 5 watts, into 8 ohms. And then if we go up and up and up, 600 ohms is 0.81 watts, and then 300 ohms is 1.62. Synad, by the way, for anyone who plays with those Synad memes, of 118 decibels at rated power. So, here's the joy I get out of this. I can plug in any headphone, and it doesn't necessarily, like, obviously, in the heart of hearts of anyone who knows anything about audio, you start with tungsten and you go out from there. So I've got, Sasvara Unveiled, I've got Eris, I've got those wild MX Rays over there with the huge pads, I've got the Owens. But you start with tungsten. If it can run tungsten, you get to put that as a bullet point on any product you make. And this can absolutely run tungsten. In fact, when we were designing it and testing it, I have 2 tungstens. This is the double-sided. This is easy to drive. The 9.0 single-sided is impossible to drive. And it still drives that. Barely, but it does. So, when you're using this, and I didn't plug it back in. Let's plug it into, what do we got here? Go here. Boom. Boom and boom. You see I'm using these adapters. These are sold separately, or you can go buy them online. I will link them in the description. We're now running an RCA input into Valencia. And, well, Zeos, is that allowed? Yes, completely allowed. And honestly, some way, I would say recommended. Hold on, I should be good at this. Plugs in. Yeah, bam, bam. Check. Bam. Okay, good. If you run it balanced in, balanced out, you get the full power. If you're someone who's running less than tungsten and you want to try the world's most invisible headphone amplifier, you have 2 ways of doing that. Number 1, really, really trust how clean your source is, because this is on all the time. We were doing tests. Here's the test. I plugged in my most sensitive IEMs, the Dunu Zen Pros, into the front of a 15-watt amplifier. And there was noise. And I'm like, oh, wait, why is there noise? And he's like, oh, because you didn't ground out like put a cap in the back to touch everything. So if you want to listen to the amplifier itself, you got to build things to like ground everything out. With this, on anything less than a hard to drive headphone, you're going to hear every imperfection in your source. And that's either going to make you go, oh, Zeos, I don't want that. I don't want to start troubleshooting all my source gear now. Or you're one of those people who are usually the people who spend infinite amounts of money on things and go, wait, I could hear my signal chain absolutely like through a magnifying glass. Oh, sign me up. Like, for example, I have 3 things here going on currently. 4 if you count the giant Hibby DAP, which does that? It doesn't wireless power. This in the bottom is a Black Eyes Fusion DAC transport. It is a tube DAC. There is not many tube DACs that exist. This is one, and it sounds amazing. But there's this slight little tick, 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 that you can hear in it. Not through tungsten, not through Susvara, but if I plug a very easy to drive headphone through this signal chain into that, I can just hear this little tick, 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 tick. I don't hear that with any hard to drive headphone, and I'm also running this through my QES HPBA2 Italian-made reference amplifier and actually using the outputs in the front with gender changers into the back of it so that I could actually have not just tube sound, but this Class A reference Italian, which has been always so impossible to drive any headphones because it's just not powerful enough because it needs like a 20 volt input in the back. But I can take the tube sound and the Class A sound of the reference, put it into Valencia, and then I don't have to worry that this isn't powerful enough. You ever want to hear the Rebel amp with tungsten, but it's only one? I actually tried to run it earlier. You plug tungsten double-sided into the front of the Rebel amp with the thing, and you put it on high gain. It physically distorts. It doesn't have the balls. But I love my Rebel amp. So what did I do? It's got RCA pass-throughs in the back. Preamp. Go preamp on, which we just plugged into this. RCA. We've got this in there. We're on medium gain. Our volume's down. We're going to have to unplug. By the way, Maggia cable also linked in the description. This will be, by the way, if you're watching this video, Can Jam New York. Ryan Dietz from Mod House has one of these. We sent him one. I'm like, Ryan, I think you need a Valencia. I like if you say Valencia, and when you're saying Valencia, just see if people notice. So he's got one in silver, in the good finish, at the show. And the problem that Ryan has is he has to transport everything, and he doesn't really have any creamy, supple sources. So I have nothing but amazing, creamy supple. If you plug, all right, timestamp. Whatever you plug into Valencia is what you hear. Valencia has no sound. It has no coloration. It is a transparent window. It does fucking nothing to the signal. It just makes it bigger. That's what his amplifiers do. His big fucking 500 watt per channel toroidal transformer linear power supply amplifiers don't make a single thing happen that's different than what it should be. And it all comes down to what you're feeding it. So if you have just this and just a DAP, you can buy an adapter wire like this. Let me take this out. And plug in, and I wouldn't do it into the line out, obviously. But one of my favorite setups with Valencia has just been the Hibby DAP doing the Hibby DAP thing, and you plug it into that, and all of a sudden now you have a 15 watt version of this. Almost perfectly. I had to say almost, because honestly I don't have the measurements to say, oh, it's perfect. Almost perfectly. You get everything you love about this side of the room, this DAC, this preamp, this other headphone amp, you can now convert to run through Valencia and make it 15 watts per channel. Do you need it for a super lightweight, easy to drive headphones? Probably not, no. I can run Eris on it. I don't need to. Obviously, you don't need, for the easiest to drive 32 ohm headphones, you don't need 15 watts per channel. But you can. And I'll even show you some tips and tricks of things that I figured out and spent money on to make sure Valencia can work for anything you want to do. Because there is one issue that I've come across is when you try to tube pre this, which, oh, please God, please try to tube pre this, is you will hear all the noise in your tube. Not with this. This has some buzz, like a little bit of like a buzz when you try to run that into a power amp, but not on these headphones, not on anything hard to drive, but on easy to drive stuff. So I've picked up the IFI I don't actually know. It's the IE Match 4.4. So they're a little balanced impedance matcher. Or these are available on Amazon, linked in the description. These are 15 decibel XLR chokes. They just make what's going into the back of something less. So if you have easy to drive headphones and you're like, I really would like to listen to the world's most linear, fucking amazingly clean power amplifier, but all my headphones are kind of easy to drive. Fixable. Just either use RCA, which we have ready to go. We got the Rebel amp hooked up. We got that unplugged. We got this on here. Got medium. We're gonna change to. We're gonna shuffle. Zankyo No Terror, perfect. Medium gain. Holy. That. I've said this in my reviews of his other big amps. I want to not worry. Zeos doesn't want to worry. I want to live a comfortable life where I don't have to worry about my audio gear. And I got to eliminate parts. I got to know at least, all right, am I using the Magia cable? Great. I know that it's the best cable you need, fucking $180. Don't have to worry about it ever again. Done. I don't want to worry about it. With this amplifier, if I plug something into it, no matter what it is, easy to drive, hard to drive, I don't have to worry about it. I know it's going to be powered properly. And now we're just taking the worry and pushing it one step further back. So now it's like, well, let me hear how I could actually review an amplifier that I've never plugged a headphone directly into. If I'm using like lineouts like I can do on the Rebel amp, that's one way. I could, and they do make 1/4 inch to RCA adapters. I could plug into the front of any amplifier I want and then into the back of Valencia and re-amplify the amplifier as long as you understand how the voltages work. And whatever that other amplifier sounds like, 100%, well, 99.9% will come out of the front of Valencia and push any headphone you want forever and ever. You could just wait, hold on. Hold on. Do you want to hear the noise that the black ice is making? Hold on. You hear that? But that's at such a high volume. Like, here's where I was listening to music comfortably, right? Yeah. If I pause it now, now try to hear it. It might be there. So, honestly, in all transparency, this is a slightly noisy DAC. I can assess that. This should come out of my chain, even though I fucking love the way it sounds. When I put the Rebel amp in, if I go, and I do not recommend doing what I'm about to do. Don't do what Donnie Don't does. Let's take some very, very crazy efficient headphones, and yes, Eris are crazy efficient. And I also have 10 pairs, so if it explodes, I get to just replace it from one in my house. And I want to keep reminding you, this is a power amp, and if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you can hurt yourself, and you could hurt your headphones. I don't know which one's more important, yourself or your headphones. So audiophiles, real audiophiles, the headphones. But I'm going to put these just slightly... Nothing's playing. Oh! Do you hear that? That is not the sound of the Valencia. That's the sound of this DAC getting pushed through this Class A. In fact, if I switch the preamp off, so that's now just an open circuit, you'll hear this. And that's not Valencia either. That's the sound of the Rebel amp sitting there, idling. In fact, it changes if I flip that switch. It's a little less. This is a fucking telescope into the rest of your gear. And you have to be ready for that. Because everything I'm saying about how it brings out the sound is 100% true. In fact, don't even listen to me. Wait for someone else to do a review. But oh my God, you need your shit sorted. I've piled up a stack of things, not because they're the cleanest and the best, because they have the most change in the sound. I always wanted to hear a Rebel amp with 15 watts. I always wanted to hear my QES reference on a tube DAC with 15 watts. For the first time, I guarantee you today was the first time I pulled that Tor out. I had to dust it like a motherfucker. And I'm like, all right, I'll hook it up to the Gishelli Labs. The Daisy DAC is feeding it. And I know that's like if you hooked up a Daisy DAC to this, you'd have no volume control. It would just go boop, your drivers burst into flames. I mean, tungsten would probably get real fucking loud, but any normal headphone would just melt. So let's see, we're down. I'm gonna go low gain, all the way down in here. Actually, that looks pretty quiet. I'll put this on. So I hear that little bit of a whine. Ooh, great, the RRR soundtrack. My gods. So, here's something you could do. There's two choices if you're going to use if you have a noisy source gear and you just can't fix it. You could put on an impedance choke. And there's two places to put it. You either put it before the amp with something like this, or put this in line and then onto the back, or I just plug this into the front, and you have two choices on this. Ultra and high. I think just high will work. IFI sells this for a reason. They sell it because usually very sensitive IEMs, when you plug them into really powerful DAPs, you know, there's a chance that that you're going to hear some noise, so you want to lower it. So it's doing the exact same job here, only instead of a slightly powerful DAP, maybe doing 2 watts a channel, we've now got that fucking monster doing 15, and we're just trying to quell all the noise. So now with this on there, I can go to medium gain. I still just barely, if I go to ultra, it's silent. There's no more, the little, it's so low I can barely hear it. And now when I hit play, I can actually use like the volume control safely. Oh my lord. So now, when you're using really hard to drive stuff, and I have to eventually put on, I'm gonna put it on. Here we go. We're gonna put this on. We're gonna undo, stop, lower, low, out, in. Make sure there's no I just pulled a fucking staple out of something. Oh god. Review of this incoming. I don't hate this headphone, but I hate dealing with this headphone. There's a fear. All right, what am I lowering? That I'm just gonna lower all the volumes, just in case. Okay, nothing's playing. I hear no sounds because these are a much less efficient set than the Aris. Low gain is fine. So now, what I'm hearing, I'm not hearing. Oh, you're hearing Susvara on Valencia. No. I'm hearing Susvara unveiled on a Rebel amp, on the Class A circuitry of a Rebel amp being pushed through a tube DAC. I'm doing this into this. It's hard to try to promote a product, especially with my name on it, because everyone's like, oh, Zeos, you're just shilling to fucking whatever. But this is nothing. There's nothing here. You're going to see the circuit board when the pictures are finally on the website. You can be like, oh, what the hell is it? There's nothing in there. And then you think about it and go, I guess less shit that the signal's going through is better. And there's so little shit that there's literally on the board 2 capacitors, and they're little tiny ones. I don't know how Leo does it, all right? I don't understand electrical engineering, like, fully, but I've looked inside of a ton of amplifiers, and there's always a million things. It's capacitors and rows of inductance, and the boards are this big, and then you have a toroidal transformer. This thing's got a little tiny transformer, and this fucking satellite technology goddamn fucking amp board with... I should have opened up the full... Do I have it on here? Hold on. I might actually have it. I'm going to steal it from Mr. Iffert. Hold on. Yeah, so like this. Which one is this? Is this 300 ohms? 2-channel 40, but this is 300 ohms. So for those of you who want numbers, because you guys are sluts for numbers, here's the total harmonic distortion plus noise. 0.0000118. Oh, but the other channel, it's slightly slightly worse. It's 0.000119. 118 dB is the synad. There's your synad. There's your gain per channel. These are set to 14 decibels gain. It's a little off. The original one that we tested was 20. Let's see. VRMS, kilohertz of frequency is perfect. It doesn't make... there's pictures of it. It doesn't make any fucking sense how it's A, so powerful with so little stuff in there. B, how it's so clean with so little stuff in there, although that kind of makes sense. You put this here and you stop worrying about your amplification. Well, I mean, you should still worry because you don't want to blow anything up, but this doesn't matter. This isn't what's making your headphones sound warm or wide or tubey. This is out of the picture. I wanted an amplifier that took the amplifier out of the picture, which is weird. But now I can plug in my Rebel amp or this reference amp, or I can go back to... actually, what can I do for... Oh, we're going to look at that. What do we have plugged in here? You are you and you. So we can plug you and you, which I believe that is correct. We're going to take you out and plug you... No, you know what? Back to tungsten. We're going to give this a chance. Like, it's not bad sound-wise, but it is annoying hi-fi-min-wise. And I'm sorry I'm taking the beautiful Magic cable off. We can go directly... Hold on, we're pulling up the fucking thing. The adapters, again, I bought 250 of these from Fio. They're really nice quality. We're going to go into the bottom one. Got my volume set here. You need a volume somewhere else. I'm going to keep reminding you, there's no volume there. And while technically I could lower the volume in foobar, if, say, I had a Gishelli Labs DAC, which don't have volume controls, they just have the different gain settings. But technically, if you had an R2R, like a Musician Pegasus R2R DAC, and you plugged it directly into Valencia, and you ran an XLR cable to it, you could digitally control the volume, but I highly don't recommend that. Because if your Windows volume just goes, you know what, I feel like today I want to be at 100 because there was just an update to my software, then you die. Then your headphones explode, then you hurt you damage your hearing. You do not want that. Be afraid of Valencia. A good amount of fear. Just that little bit of like, ooh. As long as your stuff is sorted, there's nothing to worry about. Been using it for months. But if your shit's not sorted, get it sorted. So let's put this on. We're at 31 here, which this has a weird volume problem because Italian. Antonin Dvorak Piano Trio Koptu Dumki Hi-Fi tests. This is a very quiet track. Now, if I plug these headphones directly into this reference amplifier, they would barely make sound. As much as this looks like it's amazing and it has two toroidal, it is weak. It's a weak, weak little baby amplifier. But my fucking God, like, the amount of... It's balls in a box. Does your amplifier not have balls? Balls in a box. I'm pretty sure I couldn't get Leo to put that on the page. But from my point of reference, that's what Valencia is. If you have a DAP and you really, really want to hear... In fact, let's get that hooked up. We're done with the Rebel amp for now. Good, good. Nothing plugged into it. Shut that off. I'm going to kill the power there just because we're going to drop those down. Those are nice RI cables. If I was that wire... There it is. Yeah. Balls in a box is an... There we go. Nice. I hope you enjoy the size. A giggity. Is what she said. Wait. No, that's not what she... If she says that, we've got issues. Not judging, just saying you should probably look for her license. All right, put this down. Let's turn on. And there's balance line out and balanced. So we're just going to go to balance. We'll go to the headphone out. We're not lining out because this should be able to put out full tits, murder voltage. So we're going to make sure that's nice and low. We're going to make sure we are, what's on my low gain? We're just going to drop it to the fucking floor. Just enough to make sure it's playing. So now let's pick. You know what? I want to listen to you a little bit more on this though. Hold on. Oh my God. There's like, this is so quiet. And if I have 16 more decibels of, oh, now I have 6 more decibels. I could blow up tungsten with this. With the right preamp stuff going through full XLR, you have infinite power. You have Thanos snap ability of your entire music career in a box. Do you have the willpower to wear the glove? I should be writing things for like, so I've lowered that. That's the live corn from the MTV Unplugged. So yeah, that obviously fucking works. But what happens if I plug in super efficient headphone without the adapter? Keep in mind, this is, if you're going to spend up almost, I'm going to say almost $2,000 because we still don't know the final price before everything works out. And then the people who make the case and people who are sending the things. This is cheap. These are like $12 each. And you put them in line in the back. And whatever your output source is just safety 15 decibels quieter. Valencia won't care if you're squeezing at only a little bit of voltage. That's why I recommend the RCA adapters in the back. Because if you're not sure, start low, start quiet. Do not, I mean, you can unplug and plug your headphone in the front without turning it off. Do not flip the power switch in the back or unplug an XLR from the back or anything from the back or anything down the line if this is on and your headphones are plugged in. Because if you pulled out an RCA and you grounded it out and you set a boop into this, it's going to amplify that at 15 watts and push it through your headphones, and you're going to go, why do my headphones smell like magic smoke? I'm trying to be a balance of curiosity for weight. Zeos is saying this is literally measures the cleanest amplifier he's ever fucking heard of. And fear. There's a good, solid balance there. I've had Orchard Audio amplifiers that in the past have just melted a speaker because a DC offset from a tube thing threw a DC offset through his amp, and that was the amp before he was doing the protection circuits, which, by the way, we definitely added ESD protection to this because it's on a desk and you're touching it more. We had to solder it in manually on these, but it's in the final review because it's just gone whoop, and the tweeters have just exploded out of the thing. Right? There's something about a touch of fear when you plug something in or you put on a speaker for the first time, you boot up your computer and you're like, oh, it wants to do a BIOS update. And it's so satisfying. All right, what are we on? Nothing. Here. We're playing Monogatari. Great. Probably should turn that off. If you turn the power switch on and off in the back, you kill the power supply and the unit is cold. If you turn the soft off in the front, the power supply remains engaged, but it draws like 1 watt. And that's what does the soft on and off. You will not hear a pop when you do the front on or off. You can do this 100 fucking times and it's fine. You do it in the back. I'm going to do it with fucking, all right, I'm putting these on the camera. Hold on, here we go. You ready? I'm going to put it on. I'm going to do this. I don't know if it did it. Let's try on. Yeah, you hear that like pop? It's not enough to destroy a headphone. I've done it just now. But I don't recommend it. If you're, just use the soft off in the front and be careful not to just flip it nonchalantly. Which, by the way, so 50 out of 100, low gain, because they're coming out of the headphone out, into the OA Valencia, which you can just say OA if you don't want to say Orchard Audio. And it's running, oh my sex! Where the fuck are the mics? If you ever wanted to know how to get the most power and bass out of out of Eris. Not needed. I could plug this into here and then set this to high gain and probably do similar amounts of fucking impact. But there's your impact. There's your... So, there's a very slight hiss. And it's because this just existing as a unit, being amplified by 15 watts, I'm not going to say, oh, it's dead silent. There's no grounding here. It's not grounded to anything. It's floating. This is essentially floating. If I unplug this and turn it on, there's a hiss. If I... Oh, Jesus. Oh, there's like the that's the scariest. That's why you don't do that. Don't do what Donnie Don't does. But because it's just this, if it's floating, I guarantee you there's no noise in Valencia, because you could prove it. You could literally just go to the back, make plugs. That's why these RCAs are here. Leo, I didn't have any. And Leo was like, do you have any of those caps that like block it off? And he's like, I know. So we took an IFI cable, we stripped it, we twisted the wires together. I plugged this into the XLR adapters. We plugged the XLR adapters in, turned it on, and plugged in my most sensitive IMs, and no sound comes out of it. It's silent. Any noise you hear through this isn't this. It's always something else's fault. And as an audiophile who's chased down noises before, thank you. Because either A, I get to use this to find all the noises in my system, or B, at least I know that you're not the problem, baby. I know you're not the problem. I know you're not the problem. There's just the slightest little, and then you hit that, and it's like... So, the benefits now is I have, and well, let's get off of... I love my Eris. It's super sensitive. We don't need it. We need you. Up, in. By the way, if you buy two, you can stack them and have this vertical fascia thing just continue on and on until they topple over, which don't do that. I'll be at Expona, by the way, to show off. I'll probably have 3 or 4 of these on the table, and a bunch of Eris, and a bunch of Magia cables, and god damn it, the fingerprints. So let's see. It's playing right now? Holy crap. You can't even tell it's playing. The difference between the efficiency of Eris and the efficiency of tungsten double-sided is laughable. Okay, let's try turning it up. Nope, not enough. We gotta go and we gotta set the gain. I'm gonna go right to high. There we go. You can use a portable as a source for this. You can. In fact, I kind of trust it. We're at 88 out of 100 on high gain. But it's running tungsten. And probably a very quiet song. I don't get the benefit of the thing. Here you go. Foster the people. 85 out of 100. It's got whatever you want to have power, this gives it the power. You want your tube amp to be a hybrid. In fact, let's power that, unplug this, plug you directly into here, put you back on my head, volume check, volume check. You're going to learn to volume check. It's going to be like second nature by the time you're done. Nothing's playing. Amazingly, so this doesn't have any noise. Obviously, I'm on tungsten, which means there's usually no noise in anything. But you would think tube amps can be the things that A, sound the best running through this, because now you have a tube amp that's essentially made a hybrid. I've made an impossible... Hey, do you know if they sell a tube hybrid that's this Ukrainian-based crazy quad transformer balanced son of a bitch, but also has 15 watts a channel? Boom. Done. I'm maxing that out, but yeah, I think tungsten's fucking running. They're actually shaking in my hand. I didn't want this to just be the be-all end-all of tungsten, because tungsten isn't the... wow, I almost said tungsten isn't the greatest headphone in the world, but it kind of is. But it's a good way to start. Anyone building a headphone amplifier nowadays needs to start with the GOAT. You start with the GOAT, and then you make sure it works on everything else. And yes, you might have to go and put some chokes on your inputs or impedance adapters in your front end line just to keep it from exploding things or being a little bit too sketch. It's not really about explosion. It's about like, do I trust myself not to whoop? If you make that sound and it's bad, you don't want to ever go whoop. But my lords, actually, where's Lord? Hold on. Lord. Stoned at the nail salon, mood ring, solar power. That is maxed out. Oh my! It sounds like. The thing is, it sounds like that. I'm not looking at... You can't see where my eyes are because of the camera. I'm no longer concerned with the item I'm fucking reviewing. Yes, it's a collab. Yes, you can hook it up to speakers. I didn't bother with this. But forget that for a second. I'm now able to focus on this. And not just this. This running on a headphone it could never run on before. And yet, of course, you could have plugged it into any amplifier. Oh, but I have tungsten Zeos and I already have this amplifier. So can I plug that into this and run it? Sure. You know what it won't be? As transparent as that. That's all it's got to be. It's got to be as transparent as physically fucking possible so that all the sound you're hearing is just the source. And I think he's pulled it off. I don't think he knew he was pulling that off. I don't think even when I told him why I wanted him to build the amplifier, he knew why I was telling him to do that. But it fucking happened that first day he brought it over, that little board that's this big and weighs like half an ounce. We plugged it. We wired everything into it. And he was like, oh, do you have a plug to just screw this into the thing? And I knew from the first fucking song. And if you plug like a topping D90, an old D90 into this, a very linear DAC, you're going to get one of the most sterile and linear sounds you've ever heard because that's what a D90 is. You plug a Rebel amp into it, a Class A, you're going to get a warm Class A sound. You plug a tube amp into it, you're going to get a wide, smooth tube sound. You plug a tube DAC into a Class A reference Italian thing, and then plug it, you're going to get whatever the fucking mad combination that is. Ignore this. This doesn't matter once it's here. Now I get to concern myself with all the fun stuff. I'm going to go to shit and get that Sin or whatever the hell that preamp is. I'm going to plug the X2Os. Oh my God, I got to do a tube X2O. I regret not setting the desk up like 2 days ago to put the Black Ice F360 surround settings, super wide adjusting tube preamp into it. I've done it with other amplifiers and I think it made it perfect. But now it's like, well, I could just slam that on the desk, have that be my preamp with the volume knob and adjustments for the width and the bass and the treble, and it'll perfectly output everything I want and run any headphone I want. So long as I trust my source to not be noisy, and if your source is noisy, chokes, and if your headphones are super efficient, either lower your volume or chokes. This is a brick. It's just an audio brick. Magic, your magic, whatever magic you want to put into the back of it goes in. Your magic gets bigger and your magic comes out. The end. I have a horse in this race. Get it? Do you get it? Where all I could do for Leo is promote it like I am on this channel and tell him what I think the community wants and needs. Because there's a hole. I just fill holes. What was the bassiest headphone before Eris existed? I don't know, TH900s maybe? But even that wasn't made for bass. I saw a hole in the market and I filled it. There was a hole in the audio amplification market for headphones. And it fucking filled. And Valencia fits perfectly. So yeah, if it is February 14th, happy Valentine's Day. You can pre-order this and it'll be out end of April, early May. If you believe in it. If you don't, if you want to hear it in New York, if it's before February 22nd of 2025. This one, well, not this one, there's an exact duplicate of this, will be running a Modhouse Tungsten in New York at Can Jam. In April, When these are just about shipping, if you've done a pre-order, you can come to Axpona, to the ear gear section. I'll be running a table there. You'll see the Eris banner. I'm right next to Sparkos. Oh, that's another thing. You don't see the Sparkos Gemini here because that's too easy. The Sparkos Gemini RCA output, and you put that fucking thing up, and it's like, oh my God, it is fuck. You should be excited because this lets you play with all the other stuff that's out there and just guarantee it's going to work on everything. It's a guarantee. It's a powering guarantee for everything else. Listen to it in New York. Listen to it in Chicago. I'm going to try to get it on some retailers. Like I know the headphones.com guys. I know the Mimic guys. If you want to buy it direct, you can do that at orchardaudio.com. Currently, we are going to have 100 of these. Probably should have mentioned that. There will be 100 of these made. I think we did 50-50 silver and black. We'll see which one sells more and then adjust for the next batch. It's going to take some time if they sell out to rebuild them because we have to order from China for the cases and we have to get the order from Canada for the boards and then we have to have the person assemble it and then we have to send more of the units. It's a whole thing. So the first 100 are the first 100. There's actually, if you're a patron and you're watching this, hello patron, we have some of the original cases that were the brushed aluminum, which don't look very good. And we still have, I think, 5 of the original boards, which Leo is hand adjusting to be instead of 20 dB, 14 dB, with the smaller heat sinks that we've upgraded. I might be putting those out to patrons for $1,000, just so we could try to recoup our money for buying all the stuff. So that's half price essentially. So if you're one of those people, congratulations, you have just bought a monster. If you're one of the people pre-ordering it, I hope you like it. Just understand the words that I'm saying. It is a scary, dangerous monster. But oh my fucking God, can it unlock so many good combinations. It's all about the combinations. It's all about the combinations. It's all about those audiophile assholes who are like, oh man, my chain. I was hooking up to this actually earlier. My chain, you know what? I want to hear your chain, but I don't want to hear it out of any other amp but Valencia. That's what people are going to say. So, Horse Girl wallpaper available in the Wallpaper Horde. Patreon subscribe star. If you want to, well, if you're watching this and you're a patron subscriber, you have nothing else to do. Also, there's a $25 off code, Zeospantera, spelled like it sounds, one word, on Orchard Audio to save $25 extra. So if you click the link in the description to go to Orchard Audio and you check out and you buy anything. Oh, I almost forgot this thing. Hold it. Stop. This video ain't over yet. This is another thing Orchard Audio makes. And this is an old broken one he sent to me because he's like, hey, this one isn't really fit to sell. Do you want it? I'm like, yeah. This, which is $300, so it's not cheap, will convert RCA up to XLR voltage. So let's say you did have a Rebel amp and you wanted this to reach its full potential. You buy this along with this. You plug your RCAs from that into this. You plug XLRs from this into that. This is as clean as that, so it doesn't add any noise. In fact, what's the power supply it's running off of? It's a Freehong 9-volt, 2.2 amp. So you can buy from Orchard Audio a RCA step-up adapter that converts it from 2 volts to 4 volts balanced and run it into that and have full. This can also work for anything else. I've had this for months for just other things. But yeah, I almost forgot to mention that. I knew I was going to forget putting it all the way over here. Look at that, so far away. I'm telling you how to make the signal quieter. Leo's telling you how to make the signal bigger. Anyway, I'm done. You're done. We're done. Patreon, subscribe to support this channel. Get your benefits. Get your $25 off by using code Zeospantera on his site. Anyone who wants those 5, I don't know if I'm going to wait till the next month's yard sale because March is still way earlier. It'll probably be easier to just say there's 5 of these in the yard sale. Or I'll just put up a post on Patreon and you guys can go and message me directly. See reviews early, participate in yard sales, lossless sound demos. I might use that for every sound demo in the known universe for the whole rest of the future. And that's another thing. It's like it takes tube noise. It's like it takes tube and brings it to solid state without like dulling it. It's wild. And the $10 a month chat that you talk to me directly, where I've been showing off Valencia for a while. You've seen it on the desk for quite a bit. And then once you're in there, you're in a lifetime swap meet channel to buy, sell, and trade gear. I'm done. This video is way longer than I want it to be, but I just, look, it's a collab thing, all right? I got to work with someone who knows more about circuit design than I ever will fucking know about anything, than breathing and jacking it. He knows everything. And he just sat there and goes, I could do that. Yeah, 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 I could do that. And every time I said him to do something, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. The only thing we couldn't do was add a 4.4 to the front. But I fixed it with money. Also, we're leaving the locks on the front so that these can lock in. I was opposed to that at first, but I think I like that it just goes click, and then when you pull out your 4.4, it does not remove the adapter. Thoughts? Okay, cool. I'm done, you're done, we're done. Thank you for being supporters of mine and viewers and all that other stuff. I hope to see you. I won't see you in New York, by the way, because I'll be at the Florida Audio Expo, but I hope to see you all in Chicago at Expona. And I hope Valencia suits one of your needs, because at least one of you has a need for so much power going to headphones that it could literally kill you. So I'm done, you're done, we're done. Good night, you primitive screwheads. It's been fun.